hearing from everyone the lessons that you carried from him and what he gave to you. Think about for 2 seconds now. Who would like to begin?
I learned a lot from him auditioning. He could have like particularly in Pippin when somebody would audition for the leading lady. Sometimes they came in, they were horrible, just horrible, and we'd all go, oh boy, whatever. And he'd walk up on stage and talk to them for maybe 5-10 minutes and come back and say, now do it again. And it was like night and day. I mean, he was such a good director that he could just tell in a few minutes what to do different and how to have them come off better, you know. And I was always impressed like that. He also noticed people, like when you were saying different little things. I remember one of those auditions where there were 300, there was always at least 300 girls when there was one replacement. And 5 hours later, it was down to 5, and we all said, what about that girl? And he said, she's the best one up there, but I'm not going to hire her. We said, why not? He said, when she went to do her song, I didn't like the way she talked to the piano player. So he was very astute watching people like that, you know.
You probably found that very advantageous when you're doing all your productions of Evita.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't want to get into that, but that came later when I was directing
That'll be another
Evita.
panel. Mr. Foote. What are some specific lessons and what you got from the man personally that still live with you?
It's very hard. I don't know how to talk about it very much. I mean, I hope that what he taught me when I was a dancer and working with him, an actor for him, I have always tried to pass on when I'm directing a show. I think he taught me more about how to work with people, because you can get more out of people who can't dance sometimes than you can out of the best dancers in the room who don't care. I've done some of Bob's shows in some of the biggest repertory theaters in the world in other countries, but you leave New York and dancers who can sing and act don't exist, or actors who can dance don't exist. This thing that we have here in America, this singer, dancer, actor that we have, they just don't have in other countries. It's changing maybe some now, but I did this for 25 years. I mean, I've done Chicago with no male dancers. No male dancers. All actors. But they all danced. I mean, I did a Pippin with all male dancers. Two dancers, and everybody else were actors from the theater, the young actors. And I can remember Bob saying to me one time, he said, don't worry about their technique. Some of the best dancers in the world can't do my stuff. Just can't do my things. And I guess it's because, I don't know, I mean, that's very hard. Bob's work was always very easy for me to do. For some reason, I was just, all that character work, because when I was studying dance in my early days, my favorite things were Mr. Vielzak's character class and Sevilla Fort's Afro-Cuban class, and it was all those character classes that I went to is where I think that I learned to dance, because there were always much better dancers in the room than me that could do more pirouettes and jump better and do all this, but there was something about me that choreographers liked in my personality or in the way I presented things, and I don't know what it was, but I was successful, so obviously there was something they liked in me, and I know I wasn't the best dancer in the room. I always considered myself a dancing actor because my dance came second in my life, because I came to New York to be an actor, and ended up kicking my legs up on, you know, doing the stuff, you know. But he was amazing, because he had every little movement has a meaning all its own. He used that one always. I'm sure you all remember that one. Every movement has a meaning all its own. And in Pippin, he gave us so much to feed off of and to use that I never felt, and I was only lucky enough to get to do the show for 7 months because I had to have knee surgery, but I never felt that I was able to, from the time that the curtain went up and we put our hands into the light to the very end of the show, do everything that he had asked us to do in one evening. I would get one and I'd go, oh yeah, and then I'd go, oh fuck, no, I missed that one, you know. But there were so many, he gave us so many things to do. There was so much stuff to make it so rich for us. Nothing in my life ever prepared me for performing in Pippin. Of all the things I did in my whole life, and I've done some wonderful things and been many places, being in that show was the most magical 2 hours every day that I could ever imagine. Because it was someplace, we went somewhere and we were someplace else and nothing could touch us. It was just magic.
Thank you.
For 2 hours. Didn't you feel that? There was a quality.
That we were able to experience on a very personally emotional level during the whole show. Because each number you would be able to bring something from inside yourself emotionally to make that moment work for the number and for yourself as whatever character you were in that particular number. And it was, I think, of all the shows I've done in all my life, the most emotionally rewarding of all the shows.
Every
because
night.
by the end of that show, that you might say terrible moment at the end, when you're down there into the audience asking someone to come and do this, you were able to get out of yourself such an emotional lift. And in many ways, I mean, it could be an evil moment if you wanted to really make somebody frightened about what they might agree to do. You could use anything you wanted from yourself on an evil level to convince them to come up and destroy themselves. I mean, so the whole show, by the end of it, you had expressed so much personal emotion that when you left the theater, you were not only drained emotionally, but it was a great satisfaction that you were able to have this experience and get all of that out of yourself in 1 2-hour period.
That was it.
Yeah.
I mean, it was truly, Richard hit it right. It was the most emotional experience I've ever had on the stage. And even though we did not work with each other,
no.
We worked out front. The whole show was out front, and it was almost like each one of us didn't really even exist. We were just figments of that man's imagination, and all of this was swirling around his head. And I mean, they used to say to me, "Aren't you tired when that show's over?" Nah. It was the most exhilarating thing I think I've ever experienced in my life, ever.
Thank you so much.